There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Experience broadcast day beginning. It's Monday, and we've got some majorly cool stuff coming up for you guys. We've got back-to-back interviews today. We're starting with someone super cool, though. Welcome to the Experience, Brent Peeples. Hey, Brent.
Hey, what's going on, Jen?
I'm sure all you guys know Brent from all of his work with every single publisher out there, probably.
Almost, not anymore. There's so many. There's a lot now, but yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, there's some newbies out there that haven't found you yet, which is crazy. But yeah, there's some. You've got some really great work out there. People are most familiar with you maybe from your DC work with Titans or the new Superman, or your Marvel work with the Earth 616 characters like Isaiah Bradley, which is super hot right now because of the new show. Yeah, you've got working with some of my good friends over at Dynamite, doing some legendary Green Hornet.
Yep, did that. What else did we do? We did the I did that Gold Key stuff over at Dynamite too, which was fun. With Phil Hester, that was a good time.
Let's see, Ghostbusters IDW. I think there's so much. Zenoscope.
Yeah, that was my first work.
Yep. So you've been doing really great work since it looks like 2010 was when you really got broke in. What was your very first thing you broke in to do?
Very first thing was Grim Fairy Tales. Yeah, that was 2010. So I did a couple issues of that. Then did a little bit of run on Sinbad, and then after that is when I did the Last of the Greats over at Image with Josh Fialkov. That was in 2011, I guess.
Yeah. So starting out at Zenoscope, we're big fans of Zenoscope here. So it's like I try to explain to everybody that they're like, yes, they're very pretty covers that make you believe that it's just about the pretty covers, but that's not really it. They have really great, strong female protagonists that are all amazing.
Yep, and I mean they definitely have a following and a very strong fan base. You know, the fans, those fans are very passionate. It's kind of like Valiant fans. Valiant fans are extremely passionate about Valiant and the characters and the stories. So
absolutely. So, did you have a favorite character to work on in the Zenoscope universe?
Not really. I mean, when I did Sinbad was fun just because of the different types of characters that were, in there. But, on Grim Fairy Tale, I don't know. There were so many different things I got to do over Zenoscope. So, of course, drawing the ladies is always fun. But I did, I did an issue that had a bunch of goblins in it, and those were fun to draw to. And so I never really have a favorite character. I've yet to draw anything where I have a favorite character to do, if that makes sense.
Sure.
There are some that I probably enjoy more than others, but I still wouldn't say they were favorites. So when I did Titans, I enjoyed drawing the entire team. I had moments where I was having more fun drawing Beast Boy at the moment, or there's, I get to draw Nightwing. This is a super cool moment type thing. But, drawing Raven was just as much fun as drawing Miss Martian for me. They're different personalities and the way that you can play with the characters. It's not just drawing. For me, it's not just drawing the character. Reading the script or knowing the characters and finding out what their personalities are, what their quirks are, those types of things. And you get to play around with that, like doing New Superman. Drawing the cockiness of Colin Keenan versus, a different character. It's fun getting to play with the different. So I've never really found a character that I'd like to necessarily that's my favorite. I kind of find love for all the characters that I'm drawing whenever it is.
Kind of hoping we get to see that character again, because it's like that run happened, and then I don't think that character got drawn over into anywhere else in the universe, which makes me sad for him.
New Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know when the run was going, he popped up in a couple issues somewhere else. Like I think he popped up in Justice League somewhere, and he popped up in something else. But yeah, he never. What?
That's Adam Freeman saying that you're dreamy.
Oh, you're not wrong. Oh, there he is. I just figured out how to work the comments. Awesome. So it was, yeah, I mean, he popped up, but it'd be cool. I would love to. And I think, I mean, Victor Bogdanovic, who started the series, has even said, on Twitter or something, that he would love to draw those characters again. Mm-hmm. It was just a really fun book to draw, and you got to play with these archetypes that were still new characters. So you had, there's a little bit more freedom to play, and it was fun.
So if you were going to put that character onto a team that currently exists, where do you think he'd best fit?
I don't know. I think it would probably be cool to place him. I also kind of have this love for characters that they're mainstream, but they're not your heavy hitters. So, I've got this love for, characters like, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold and stuff like that. Like, I think it would be cool to put Booster Gold with New Superman and let them kind of have like this duo kind of thing. You know what I mean? I think that'd be a fun mash.
I think
maybe throw Blue Beetle in there too. That'd be cool. Just let them all three just hang out.
Some kind of shenanigans through time and space.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea.
And especially because Colin Keenan was, he was at the beginning of that series. I mean, you got to see him grow and turn into a hero he was supposed to be, but he always still kind of had this cockiness about him. He was always a little bit arrogant, and Booster Gold's arrogant, and it would just kind of be nice to see those two play against each other.
Absolutely. All right, so I know you've got something really cool that you're working on right now. Is it live right now, the Kickstarter for it?
Yeah, the Kickstarter's live. We actually have my website right now. It says, I thought it was 12 days. We have 11 days to go.
Oh, so, wow, you're right in the middle.
Yeah, just shy of 2 weeks left. It's my Kickstarter. It's called Take the Monkey and Run, which is my first creator-owned thing that I'm trying to get launched since I did Last of the Greats and with Image, which is I was co-creator then. The alcohol brought the project, had the project and brought me on. So, this is my first thing that I'm writing and drawing at the same time. So, yeah, kind of nervous, but really want to get this thing launched. I've been sitting on it for 2 years, and it's been taking the back burner because of work for hire stuff that, needed to get done. But right now, I've got the ability to work for hire if it needs to go slow. So I've got the time to fill. So I want to try to get this thing done.
So what was the biggest challenge to take on both roles?
Writing was, I thought writing was going to be harder. I mean, it's hard, but I just didn't think I could do it. I'd never done it. But when I kind of sat down and when I finally had an idea that I really liked and thought it would stick, and I sat down to write, the pages just kind of came out. I mean, they just kind of, it's not like I got a block, which I'm sure is coming at some point if I keep writing, but the first issue just kind of flowed out of me, and then I got some help from some buddies in the industry, and then they say punch this up a little bit, punch the dialogue up here, maybe this and that. Of course, obviously because I'm very, very green. But I mean, I would say that the writing is a little bit probably going to be the most difficult aspect of it because I'm so new at it. And I don't really know how good of a writer I am. Probably not that great. Who knows? I'm hoping it's better than I'm giving myself credit for. But I really like, I think the premise of the story, I think the idea is really good. I really do think, I mean, even being very green with the writing, I think I'm going to have a lot of growth, obviously, but I still think it's going to be a very good product and a fun book. Try not to take it too seriously and just have fun with it,
What was the inspiration for the story?
So I'm a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes, and I'm a big fan of Supernatural, and I was kind of thought it would be cool to put them together. So, the story's about this little boy, Mike, who's 13, on his 13th birthday. He gets gifted. Well, let's go back a little bit. Long elevator pitch. But he essentially has been living with his aunt since he was a baby. That's all he knows. As far as he knows, his mom just abandoned him when he was a kid. He turns 13. He gets this stuffed monkey from his mother as a birthday present. Shows up and he doesn't want it because he doesn't know this lady. Two, he doesn't want it because he's 13. He doesn't want a stuffed animal. And he doesn't understand that. Why is this a present for me? But anyway, and so you go through the story, but it's, he's essentially at 13, he is now being pursued by the sides of both evil and good, because he's the pendulum swing between the two. I don't want to use a Star Wars reference, but I guess he's kind of like the shift in the Force, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Sure. So, it's about this little boy now that has to go on these adventures and find out why he is what he is. And he's got this stuffed monkey, and we figure out why he's got this stuffed monkey. And it's kind of like a golem. And, it turns into something else, much like Calvin and Hobbes. And of course, there's a supernatural aspect to it. There's, heaven and hell and demons, and I'll throw some monsters in there, and I've already got an idea for the third issue if we get there. That's kind of this psychedelic trip thing with demons and this like almost living in a schizophrenic brain type of thing. It's I want to kind of just let it run. I mean, I'd like to see it go 6 issues for the first story arc. I've got an idea of where it's going to go. And so I don't want to take too much from Calvin and Hobbes, and I don't want to take too much from Supernatural. The inspirations are there.
So if you had to put it in a genre, like if a store owner says, where should I put this on the rack? Is it horror?
I don't really know. Like it's could be fantasy, but I mean, it's not really horror, but it's not, sorry, I'm not eraser in my hand. It's not really horror, but it's not superhero either, but there's aspects of kind of all of it in there. So I don't know. You tell me, where would it go? I mean, is it fantasy? Is it science fiction? Who knows? I really don't have a genre, I guess. I haven't really thought about that.
We have a similar problem with books like Stabity Bunny, where it does have elements of horror because Stabity comes alive and does away with people, but it's also very sweet in the way that it's told. Right. So it's kind of like where to put it, not in the kids section, but
yeah. And this one, I mean, in this book, I'm hoping that it's more of a mid-reader book. I mean, you definitely wouldn't go in the kids section. I'm not going to give it to a 6-year-old because there's going to be some violence. There's going to be some gore. Nothing too over the top. But there's going to be some. But there won't be, I'm not going to have language in the book, and there won't be any kind of adult innuendo or anything like that. Worst the closest you'll get to anything like that is going to be any kind of maybe an over the head joke that would be in any kind of DreamWorks or Pixar movie. But outside of that, I want kids and younger readers to be able to enjoy this. Maybe I don't know, maybe 10 to 13 or 14 or whatever. But I want a younger audience to be able to read it and enjoy it just as much as an adult audience. I think a lot of comics, even some of our mainstream characters that are big characters that we've grown up with, have gotten very adult. And there's a lot of mainstream books that I wouldn't allow my kids to read, and they've got classic characters in it, just because I don't find it appropriate. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I kind of want to do something that was a good kind of mid-grade reader level. Like I said, I probably wouldn't give it to a 8-year-old or a 7-year-old just because there's going to be some blood and gore. I mean, in the preview pages, there's already dismemberment. There's a severed hand and an eyeball. But I don't think really, if you the way it is now with what kids play on video games, I mean, I don't think any of that's really going to, not everybody's going to have it, but I don't think that's going to be too far off from, them running around stabbing each other and, Gears of War or anything either. So
It does sound like a good place. Like if you have a teen that either has never done comic books or is kind of in that weird, awkward age where they're not quite ready for the full-on adult stuff, but doesn't want to feel like they're reading baby books either. It sounds like it's perfect for them because it's like,
right,
it's got the violence that makes them feel like they're a grown-up, but none of the adult situations that moms have.
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, and of course, every parent's going to decide what's appropriate for, or should decide what's appropriate for their child to read. I had somebody ask me, I've got a couple nephews that are 10 or 11. Would this be appropriate? I said, well, it just depends on what you allow them to watch. I mean, it doesn't have the violence. I mean, it doesn't have the language and any of that kind of stuff, adult situations, or talk. But at the same time, there's going to be some violence. I was trying to decide how much violence to put in the book, but there's really some cool aspects that I wanted to draw. And I was like, it's got to be there. The violence has to be there. But, if you don't have I'll let my kids watch. I mean, they're not going to watch rated R horror movies, but, I'll let my kids watch, Lord of the Rings, which tend to be a little violent. But I don't also deal with violent children. I'm not worried about that. So they understand it's fantasy and they understand not to go get a sword and cut somebody's arm off. So as long as they can handle it, but yeah, I think it would be perfect for a kid or a teen that's kind of in that weird in between phase. So
Did you do any research into weird areas that you didn't know anything about for the book?
not really. I've done a little bit of research on, and this is kind of moving forward on some some demon stuff. Just to kind of figure out what I'm doing in the future for a couple of storylines, parts of the story. But again, I'm just kind of letting it flow. So it's, if, the entire thing is kind of plotted out, but from issue to issue, it may not be, sorry, this popped up. From issue to issue, what is going on? Am I still there?
Yeah, looks fine on our end.
Oh, okay. Adobe decided to pop something up that I was like, I don't want that. If I need to do research, I will, but I don't think anything that I'm doing is going to be too far off. I mean, if I'm going to draw a werewolf in there, I kind of have the basics on it. The only thing that I'd probably do any kind of research on is if I wanted a demon to be the demon of this, if that's what the case was, and I would research and find out what that would be. But outside of that, I'm just trying to have fun with it. There's going to be some serious stuff to it too. I mean, again, this is about a kid that feels like he's been abandoned, and I want to show how he deals with abandonment issues on this adventure, and how he's got to, he's got to figure out why his mama sent him this thing, or why he has this thing, and why he is what he is, and what his parents were, but also deal with the fact that he really doesn't like them because he doesn't know them. And so there's, I'm going to have some of that in there too.
Just a reminder to everybody that's watching out there on the experience, this is a fully interactive interview. If you have any questions for Mr. Peeples, please throw them up there. I have a question for you while we're waiting to see if anyone has any. So the main character, what is their name, and is anything about that character drawn from real life, people that you know?
His real name is Mike. I actually named him after my brother. As far as personality wise, not really drawing too much from my brother, except that I've got 2 older brothers, and so I used his name, and I used Mike's name, and but outside of that, because initially the book was going to be called Monkey Mike, and so it just kind of worked. But then I was telling the pitch and I'll give credit where credit's due. I was telling the pitch to Donnie Cates, and there's a line in the first issue where he's told to take the monkey and run, and Donnie goes, "That's your title."
Yeah. And
I was like, dope. So
he's got good guts about those things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to definitely trust Donnie. So, yeah, we were talking one day, and I was kind of giving him the spiel. He's like, "Yeah," he goes, "That's your title." But yeah, Mike, the main character, one of the main characters, his name is Mike, and he's, like I said, he's 13. He's kind of a take no crap kid, pretty strong willed, and so I think he's going to be fun to draw.
Does it take place in any specific place, real or imagined?
Right now, I've got him, as far as the timeline is concerned, at the very beginning of the story, I'm not going to have him leaving a specific, I don't have him set to be living in a certain town. It's just in an urban area. Where he ends up will be, it'll be a live place. It'll be a place that actually exists. It takes place in the United States and all that kind of stuff. But if I feel it's necessary to go into detail later about the town that he lives in now, then I will. But I don't think that's really necessarily a need be kind of thing. I mean, it's just kind of an urban area. But it's set in 2020 or 2021. Initially I was going to put it back in the 80s. I thought it'd be fun. But I think, the use of cell phones and technology and media will play well into the story. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep it in a modern time.
That's awesome. So we're both Texans.
Yes.
Did you grow up in Texas as well?
Yeah, I'm Dallas area, born and raised. All 41 years of it. So
I was wondering if you were my same age, because we were talking about the same kind of like backgrounds, but nope, I'm way older. Such is life.
I just turned 41, so I'm still coming to terms with the fact that I'm actually in my 40s now. Mm-hmm. Like when I was 40, and now I'm just 40, but now I'm in my 40s, so I'm coming to terms with that. So I'm getting used to this.
It's all good. You can go the next 10 years and still be fine, I promise.
Yeah, 40 is the new 30, right?
Yes, you got it. Okay, so it's totally up to you to go down this rabbit trail. Who is someone you want to work with in the future that can happen? So someone that's still alive, and someone that can't happen because they've moved on.
You know, and I mentioned his name earlier. I would really like to do something with Donnie. You know, kind of my goal. I always kind of wanted to work with all of my buddies in the industry the most I could. And I really enjoy Donnie's writing. I mean, I got to do a couple exclusive covers for Baby Teeth, but they were store exclusives. But I would really, if I had to pick somebody, I'd really like to work with Donnie. Me and Donnie get along really well, and it's always nice when you're working with somebody you get along with, that you can just jive. And I've never had a problem getting along with any writer that I worked with. But when you know somebody, you know, and you can feel more candid and open. So as far as that is concerned, I would like to really work with Donnie. And Phil Hester and I did a story before, and I'd like to work with Phil again too. Again, we just get along so well, and I've known Phil for a long time. So, and as far as somebody that can't happen, I think it would have been cool to work in some capacity with Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah, I get that.
He was just so stellar, and such an amazing artist. It would have been cool to in some capacity work with him.
It was interesting
because just all the knowledge, you know what I mean?
Yes. I actually got a collection in from somebody that spent their life obviously collecting Bernie Wrightson things, and it was eye-opening to see it all together. It made me a real fan, where I was kind of like, I liked his stuff, but I didn't necessarily love it yet. But to see it all together, it was like, wow, his body of work is so amazing.
Yeah, he's something else. He's just amazing. So that would be probably my two. I mean, there's a lot more, but if I had to pick two, that'd be two.
Yeah. All right, Brent. So tell everybody what things might be coming out that they need to look for from you, and where they can find you on social media to follow you.
So really the only big thing I've got right now that I'm trying to work on is this Kickstarter. So go to Kickstarter. It's Take the Monkey and Run. Or you can search my name, Brent Peeples, on Kickstarter. And we've got 11 days left, and we are 70% funded. Yeah, 70% funded. So not too far away. And if we get this thing done, then I will be feverishly working to finish it and get it out so I can move on to issue number 2. Then social media is Brent Peeples on Facebook, but typically, Facebook or Instagram is People's Art, PeePlesArt, and that's the same on Twitter. I'm probably more vocal on Twitter. I mean, on Facebook and Instagram, and it's mainly just putting art up there. So I've got a fan page on Brent Peeples Art fan page or something on Facebook. Don't click on that one. I don't ever use it. It's been dormant for years. But my personal page, friend me on that, and I push all my stuff on there too. So, but yeah, I mean, really the only thing, unless there's a cover. Did Red Sonja 26 come out yet already?
I can't remember what the most recent issue is.
If it didn't, then I have a cover for that coming out. If it did, then that's what came out. And of course, there's that Bloodshot cover that came out, which I had done in 2015 or 16 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it a while ago, 17 maybe, but they finally got used, so that's cool. But yeah, so the my main push right now is going to be this Kickstarter, and hopefully that'll get done, and if not, then we'll move forward from there.
Perfect. All right, everybody, just so you know, there is a link over there in the comments, so it's easy to support this Kickstarter and Brent's awesome vision. I'm gonna go support it. Ooh, ghosts in the background. I like it.
Yeah, that was my Wanda just fell off my table.
Oh no, poor Wanda. Sorry. It's all our fault.
All the witch fell right off. Oh,
Thank
well.
you so much, Brent, for your time. We appreciate it so much. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. See you later.
You caught me sharing social media. Hi, everybody. I'm Miss Jen, and this is The Experience. Super excited because I've been trying to hook up and talk to Brent Peeples forever and a day. So that was awesome. But we get back to back today, guys, for another awesome interview. We've got our friends Michael and hopefully Todd from Darling.
Yeah, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh, great. Yeah, unfortunately, Todd couldn't make it, so you just have me. And unfortunately, Todd's the social butterfly, and I'm just the weird one. So we'll do our best with what we can. But thank you so much for having us on, Jen, or having me on.
So I was super excited when you guys connected with me the other day about your project, Darling. And I've done a little bit of looking at it. But I do have to mention, because this is so cool, I was just kind of like fiddling around on your social medias to see what else you guys have been touching on. And I saw this ridiculous thing on there, Super Nintendads.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast? Tell me about this. I got to know about this thing.
Yeah, so we Todd and I have a lot of projects together. One of the things we do is Super Nintendads Entertainment Podcast, which is we kind of take our kids through, because now we're gamers, but we're old, we're dads, and we have kids. So to kind of like, try to like prove that our stuff is better than their stuff and always will be. We're like, oh, play this, whatever you're playing. What do you play at Fortnite? That sucks. Check out Mega Man. And it's just kind of, it's like silly. And, we bring them along for the ride as we kind of teach them about, our childhood and see what they love and what's evergreen and what clearly doesn't stand up or hold up. So yeah, that's slowly been growing, actually, which is funny because we just kind of started it to hang out with our kids more and just kind of have projects and play our favorite games. But that's a real thing. Super Nintendads Entertainment Podcast.
So our producer's already asking, is there video of this show? And I know where he's going with this. No, we don't have any video game content on this channel yet.
Yeah, no. We're hooked up to do video for sure, but not yet. It's all an audio podcast. We haven't done any video yet, but that is in the future. So
do the kids join you?
Yeah. So I have son and a 5 and a 1, and then Todd has a 6-year-old boy, and they'll do reviews. Sometimes I'll ask my 12-year-old, I'll say, hey, we're going to watch the movie Willow. And then I'll say, and I'm like, I want you to write a treatment for Willow too. And so he'll write a whole thing, or I taught him all about Bo Jackson and how like great Bo Jackson was for like 6 years until he blew out his knee. And then I said, I'll write an epic poem to Bo Jackson. I'll give him like strange writing assignments. Sometimes I'll give him I'll ask him to write like a screenplay for like a sequel to Demolition Man, like a scene or two or something silly, and we'll read it live and we'll all take parts, and it's just a lot of fun, and it gets him kind of doing a lot of creative stuff, like learning how to write in screenwriting format and stuff like that, and to like play around with poetry, and it's all it's all just good fun. We're not like monetizing it, or like we just, if you're a dad and you have kids, or a mom. It's funny because we say Super Nintendads and Super Famamoms instead of Famicoms. So it's really just for parents who are too old now and want to connect with their kids over gaming. and all are invited to check it out. We hope you do. It's pretty silly.
Where does it live? Where does it? Is it a podcast that's just on iTunes or?
Yeah. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find it. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just anywhere. It's we post through Anchor, so that pushes it out to 7 or 8 places. So, and we have a website too, Super Nintendo Dads. We're out there. It's not hard to find.
Kyle will find it and post it up there. Okay, cool. So 2 things. One, when you said Bo Jackson, my brain, and you were talking about your kids, I thought you were talking about BoJack Horseman, and I was like, wait, no.
No. That's a little bit more adult. Yeah, no. Bo Jackson, obviously was, played both baseball and football and had a bunch of video games as well. So that was a cool tie-in, but he also had a cartoon called Pro Stars. So it was like, like a really juicy kind of nostalgia hamburger to bite into for our kids. We were like, check out all this cool stuff he did. And then as we're watching it, we're like, this is pretty terrible. We're like, a lot of these games don't hold up. And this Pro Stars cartoon is just awful. But we inevitably we end up in laughing fits, and mostly at ourselves, thinking that like this stuff was ever that cool to begin with. We did an episode on 90s snacks where we talk about what school cafeterias were like and things like that, and famous video game rumors that turned out not to be true, but everyone has a rumor, or had an older sibling who tricked them into thinking that something happened in the video game, and you just missed it while you were out of the room. I did this crazy thing and I got 100 lives. So we cover all kinds of stuff from movies to weird pop culture stuff and snacks. So it's just kind of a shotgun blast, but it's a lot of fun to get all that time with our kids.
So what was the video game that you thought they would hate the most that they ended up liking? Was there anything like that?
Yeah. I thought they would really hate. The first episode we ever did was on Mega Man 2, and Mega Man is like notoriously hard, and they stuck with it. I mean, I actually recorded them, and it's on the first episode. You can hear my 12-year-old yelling in the background, like, "Oh, come on!" like as he keeps dying, and but he kept trying again, and now it's one of my kids' favorite games to play. They love all the Mega Man games. But I thought for sure they'd be like, this is too difficult, and they'll quit immediately. That they didn't like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. They liked the arcade fighting game, but they didn't like the one where you have to disarm the bombs underwater. That's historically notoriously a nightmare, that level, and caused a lot of panic attacks for my 12-year-old son as he tried to disarm bombs underwater. So it's a lot of stuff like that. But it's never, it's not like they're always having a good time with it. I always make sure, I always run it by. I'm like, hey, does this sound fun? Would you like to do this? I'm never like, go to your room and write me a paper on what Willow 2 would look like. Like I never do stuff like that. He has a lot of fun doing it. And that really comes across on the show. We try to give him fun assignments and things like that.
Perfect. Oh, Kyle producer has found and posted.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Got links now.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you.
Go subscribe.
Yes, please. We'd love to have more listeners, and write in dads@supernintendads.com.
Was there anything that you were crushed about that you were like, you're going to love this. This is my favorite thing in all of life, like movie or video games, that they were just like, no.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's kind of a running joke between Todd and I, is that all of our shows hit like pretty decent numbers and did really well, but one really tanked. One did terribly, and also our kids didn't take to it at all. We tried to do a cross, and it's funny. It's because it's one of the shows we spent the most time ever trying to produce. Todd wrote a custom script for if Alf had met Mr. Belvedere. So it's the crossover nobody asked for and nobody ever wanted, but we all took parts and acted it out. And even my son, he took a part, and we wrote like a mini thing, and we dropped in old like TV bumpers and ads from the 80s, so it sounded like a legit piece from, I added a laugh track. It was like this whole thing, and it's like it notoriously bombed, and no one wanted to listen to it. Apparently no one wanted to see Alf and Belvedere get together. It has the least amount of listens by far, and anytime we see a new one come in, I immediately send Todd a text. I'm like, someone else listened to the Belvedere episode. But we pumped hours of post-production into it and nobody cared. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
I'm definitely going to go and listen to that one because I wonder if that would work.
Yeah, it's actually a competent script. It kind of makes sense. It's like, and obviously it's a, it's a mini thing. It's like a mini episode. It's like 12 minutes, 15 minutes. But we also go into the history of both shows. But yeah, that's I'll be surprised if I see that there's one more listen. I'll know that it's you.
It might be true. All right, so Darling looks like it's going to be really, really an awesome project with heart behind it because you guys are doing scene done before. You've got something hooked into this to help people with. Tell everybody.
Yeah. So, man. Okay, that's okay. There's a lot to get into there. So, almost 10 years ago now, I lost my brother to heroin addiction. And when he passed, he left me a bunch of journals and diaries. And as I was going through them and kind of working through all the grief, as you do, I guess, just the best you can. I wanted to feel closer to him. I wanted to read and understand, make sense of something I thought was impossible. Like my brother was actually like kind of an all-star athlete at the college level, but had a pretty he got hooked on opiates and kind of quickly went downhill. It was very rough. So going through his journals and just feeling like I wanted to see him again and hang out with him again, I kind of started creating this weird world almost as a way to kind of process it all. And that was kind of the impetus for the world of Darling. It's very much based on my brother's personality. My brother's name was Frank. The character's name in the book is Francis. And my brother used to call himself Francis Darling because he liked the idea of never growing up like Peter Pan, like the Darling kids, like if he had gone. So he used to use that as a pen name. He used to write poetry and do other things. So, and we were in a band together and he used to call himself Francis Darling. And so that's the main character. And I started to put it all together. It's parts Alice in Wonderland. It's parts Wizard of Oz. But I thought about what maybe, and this is, kind of a dark thought, but like what must have been going through his head or his last thoughts. And I know that part of his last thoughts would probably be that he wished he had one more chance to get it right, to just kind of come correct with everybody. Because when he did pass, he had been clean for a really long time. And it came as a shock. It wasn't like he was struggling. It was like he had just got set up in a new place, new job, blah, blah, blah. Then it was just like, I got the call and my world was absolutely shattered. So I just kind of powered through it and walked like a zombie through the next year of my life. But then I kind of wanted to put that energy towards something creative. And celebrate the things we loved. Like Darling is full of like musical influences, 1980s punk rock, street graffiti, street art. It's all in there. And I wanted to make sure that at least I was doing some kind of good in his memory, so that for everyone we sell, we're donating a portion of the proceeds to programs that help people get off drugs, essentially. That help people get back on their feet. So that's kind of my biggest hope for it, is that it's successful so I can give the most amount of money, and SourcePoint, who's publishing it, SourcePoint Press, also promised to match our percentage, which is great. So it'll actually be a significant amount that we're going to be giving to charity, and I hope it makes a real difference. And I know that so many people since we've started this, being on Facebook and putting this all up on social, I've gotten so many messages from people who have shared similar, things about their family and how terrible, the opiate crisis has been, and how they've lost loved ones to heroin. And it's therapeutic to talk about, that's one of the main things I wrote actually in my pitch to SourcePoint. I said, it feels good to write. I'm like, I lost my brother to drugs, and it feels good to write that down. It's a terrible thing, but there's a weird stigma about drug death. There's a weird thing, like people don't talk about it. Like my parents and everyone around, like in our immediate family, it almost felt embarrassing. It was almost shameful. And I don't think it should be. And I want to remember him and celebrate the good and the bad, but mostly everything I loved about him, I poured into this series. And, it's funny. It's a mystery. It's fantasy. It's a really weird mashup of all kinds of things that we loved and shared together. And, I hope everyone loves it when they get their hands on it. It's in previews now. And we're trying to get it into as many stores as we can. We've gotten a lot of positive response online. People are saying, where can I get it? Where can I buy it? Please keep me updated. Sorry, I do a lot of rambling. That's why we need Todd here to shut me up. But I will not shut up unless you shut me up. So I'll stop there.
You actually make a perfect interviewee, honestly. So much better than if you ask a big open-ended question expecting a lot to come back, and the answer is yes.
Right, exactly. I'll try to make your job as easy as possible. I'll talk as long as until you just go, like.
So I took a peek at some of the art, and that's a really unique art style. How did you decide on that style?
Yeah, so Todd had actually worked with Dave Mims before. Dave is incredible. His street art, like if you want to make it like, I don't know how he did it, but and he was our first pick. And I just reached out to him over email. And what's funny is I've never met him face to face. We wrote this entire thing. We've written now almost five or six issues over email. And he's great. And he really captures 1980s. This takes place in 81. He really captures 1980s New York City. And he nailed it like right off the bat. He every little detail you'll find, he hides things in the graffiti. He puts things everywhere. He's never phoned in a page and just been like, yeah, whatever. It's like he loves to play in that world. And he's told us a lot of times before, because he's worked on some other books, he's like, this is really my favorite world to come back to, because I guess he gets to exercise all those kinds of things. Graffiti, street art, all that stuff. It must be personal to him, because he's so good at it in so many panels, especially the new stuff of the next series that we haven't even we've teased a little bit on social, but it's really something. He keeps impressing me, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is better than I thought. The last one was my favorite one, but this is my favorite new splash that you've done, and it's cool to watch. I think we're all kind of evolving together on this project. And we never thought it would come back to life. We wrote it a while ago, and then out of nowhere, Source Point Press, who we had submitted to, they reached out and they were like, hey, we're still interested in this book if you guys are still interested in making it. And I was like, oh my God, it's been on the shelf for like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But that's just good advice for anyone, if anyone's listening and they're writing or trying to get something off the ground. Like, never quit, and you never know. You absolutely never know when something comes back. And we wrote like 100+ pages of this story, and we had it lettered and colored and everything, and it was ready to go. And we were like, I guess, and we went to Comic-Con and we handed them out. We printed test copies, and it had a different name at the time. It wasn't called Darling, it was called Pusher. And we went around and we handed them out. We were just, here, please take a look. And we walked away. We were like, all right, that felt pretty good. And then nothing forever. Came back. And it's been just world again. And I would encourage anyone, just keep writing, keep submitting, keep meeting people. What you're making is art and special and personal to you. And don't forget that. Don't ever think that there's definitely someone out there who will connect with it and who will think it's as special as you do.
Yeah, that's what I've also, from my years of being in this industry, have realized that a no from a publisher doesn't mean no forever. It just means it doesn't fit in their lineup for the foreseeable future, and they don't want to keep you holding on. That'd be kind of like, yes, we want to do your thing, but it'll be 2 years from now before we can wedge this in.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Anywhere.
Yeah, we heard that response. We heard someone say like, "Hey, we like it, but like we're kind of booked up for the next couple of years. Like we don't have the resources." And I was like, "Okay, well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and thanks for for liking the book and checking it out. But yeah, you never know what's going on the other end. You never know if there's some kind of shift in responsibilities, who's approving new projects, what's going on, and what their bandwidth is to take that on. So please, everyone, keep writing, keep doing everything. The world needs comics and art, and there's a place for it, and I promise you, yours will find a home.
Do you have any other previous comic book work that people might be able to find?
No, funny enough, I've done a lot of weird stuff and never comics. And I don't know why this particular project took the form of comics. I've always loved reading comics, but never thought to write one until all this weird stuff and losing my brother and going through his stuff. It sort of just took that form. But I've done a lot of weird stuff from like I freelanced for The Onion for a while. I tested.
No.
Yeah. I tested games for Rockstar Games for a while. I've written for radio. Just all kinds of weird projects. I was actually in a band that was signed. Like I was in a small indie band. Just like crazy stuff, and it feels like a lot of that stuff. And obviously the podcasts were Super Nintendo ads. All this weird stuff has come back to kind of, I think there's an element of all of that stuff in this book. It's a little bit funny. I also wrote like a couple plays that got put on like by local theaters. So it's really weird that it just kind of landed into comics. But sometimes you don't see it coming, and the world does. Sometimes like things are adding up in the background, and they're like, well, these 4 or 5 things, you have these 4 or 5 skills. You might be good at comics. And I was like, I don't know, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I just dove in. I had no idea what I was doing. I did it all over email with Dave and Todd, and then we did 12 pages, and I was like, they're great. And then 5 minutes later, I was like, they suck. So we scrapped it and started again. Yeah, I don't know. You just keep trying. You keep pushing up against the wall, and something breaks through. And here I am getting an opportunity to speak with you about something that's real, that I never thought would be real. It's incredible. I'm really grateful to have the time to ramble and probably have people in the comments say that I'm some kind of weirdo.
No, not awesome. So it sounds like you're like super multi-talented. So Kyle says that he as a person who's lived through that nightmare, he's sure your brother went through. You can't wait to be able to read the book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
touching somebody who's that was part of their life.
Yeah. That's I guess I don't know why I was surprised to get so many of those comments, but yeah, I'm glad people are looking forward to reading the book. Some scenes are hard to look at. Some panels are hard to see. There's certainly a few panels where he's using. There's certainly a few panels where he's down and out. But the whole point is that once he hits a certain point, he decides. The story is that an 8-year-old girl goes missing on the Lower East Side, and he kind of accidentally stumbles into like the machination, everything that's going on behind the scenes that drove her to go missing. And it turns out that it's kind of leads into this like drug war. And he kind of finds himself in the middle of all these people. The missing girl's identity becomes a little bit more clear as the book goes on. But it's so he's just kind of determined to he's like, all right, if I can do this one thing right, if I could find this girl, because she's missing, it's all over the radio and all over the news, and I know these neighborhoods better than anybody. If I can go into these places and I can bring her out safe, my whole life will be fixed. And that was kind of taken directly from how my brother thought. He always thought he was like one Hail Mary pass away from fixing his life and no longer being an addict. And I used to tell him, like, listen, a brick in the wall every day, small steps. You just got to do small things. You don't really have to, he applied to try to go back to college. I want to be a writer. I was like, listen, if you just woke up every day and didn't do drugs and could be a used car salesman, whatever you want to do, that would be great for you. I'm like, just get your life back on track. But he was always trying to still score the winning touchdown. He really just wanted everyone to love him again because he was a college athlete at such a high level. He used to have, such status. that he lost, and then such a fall, and that was kind of hard. So I'm glad people are looking forward to reading the book. It's certainly very personal, and we're hoping to do some good with the giving back to the programs that desperately need some assistance to help people get back on their feet and off drugs.
Yeah, I feel your heart in this, that there's a big problem that we have in kind of tying up our worth into what we do instead of who we are at our core.
Yeah.
It's something we got to do right, because the things we do can change any day.
Right.
Just on to the next thing. There's lots of stuff to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he just dug such a deep mental hole that he couldn't really ever get out of it. It lasted a long time. He lost a lot of friends, and I don't know. It was really difficult to process, but that's part of what this book is, and why it gets. If people are into this, it gets weirder and weirder. It starts out to be like kind of like a like a regular drama, and a little bit of a mystery, and it quickly turns into something that's like just bonkers off the wall, and and that's on purpose. It's meant to, like I said, celebrate everything we loved, everything we thought that was silly or funny. Because when you lose someone who's close to you, you lose a whole set of inside jokes and memories that you had with just that person, and he was my only sibling. So like I don't have that anymore. That's gone. So I wanted to make sure that I remembered stuff like that and kept it and held on to it. And so it's almost like I put it away for safekeeping in these pages. So I'd never forget. So that's another time I rambled so far that I got away from your question. I don't even remember what we were discussing. And I apologize.
So it sounds like you're pretty far along in the individual issues for this series. Have you been inspired to do any further comic book creative work?
Oh, I would love to. I mean, no, it's not like anyone's knocking down my door for anything right now, but if anyone reached out to me, I'd be happy to work on other projects or write other things. I have plans to grow the Darling universe. Without giving too much away, there are a lot of characters who run different kind of, areas in New York City that have a backstory that we've pretty heavily hinted at that I think would be really cool to get into. I've already kind of sketched it out. So if this catches on and people connect with it, I have a whole book of notes of things of where I could take it and where it could go beyond just the story of my brother, to tell some of these other interesting backstories of these characters. Because they need to have a backstory always for me. It's not like I just write a person on a piece of paper and go, oh, okay, that person's done. It's like I need to know, like, what would this person have for breakfast this morning? Like what is this person like? So we have a lot of fun characters and a lot of bonkers, just off the wall kind of people in here, and it's a weird blend. It's a weird blend of fantasy and New York City 80s punk rock and Alice in Wonderland, and it's really, really spirited away. It's so strange. I don't even know. I don't even know what's going to come next. I mean, I've folded Charlie Chaplin into my latest notes somehow, and we'll see if that comes to fruition. But it's I hope people check it out. I really do. And you can check it. You can go to darlingthecomic.com and sign up, and we'll give you all the alerts. You can go. You can find us on Facebook /DarlingTheComic, and we're on Instagram, The Real Francis Darling, and we're on Twitter. My personal Twitter is just @Flyzach. That's my last name, FLEIZACH. Just @Flyzach, because there's like no other Flyzachs on the planet that spell their name that way. So, so I lucked out. And I would love to chat with every one of you. And if you have a personal story that you wanna share about addiction, or you just want to bounce off someone, I'm all ears. Please, you can shoot me a message privately. It's a really tough thing, and I wished, with going through it, that I had more people to kind of talk to about it, that be like, listen, it's a hard thing to deal with, but it's really not that strange.
Thank you so much for offering that up, because I know that The more that people get together to work on healing, the better that it gets. Much more easy when you have someone to come alongside you. Michael, thank you so much. Give our love to Todd and tell him if he gets himself shooken free and wants to come and do this, to let us know, and we'll put him on and talk to him too.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right. See you.
Bye.